thank you for being here. Thank you for coming to Riley.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. All right, so first, can you tell us about Project Lead the Way and the work you're doing in schools across the country?
Sure. Well, again, it's an honor to be with you, and I'm excited about all the work happening here at Riley. And you guys are an exemplary school for us. Obviously, we had a chance to see the work you're doing here, but I know at our national summit coming up in Orlando, we're going to have the privilege of having you there presenting. So we're excited to have you share with the world the work that's happening here in South Bend. So, Project Lead the Way is the nation's leading provider of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics curriculum for K-12 schools. We're really focused on helping students develop transportable skills that will allow them to thrive in this global economy. Skills that are in high demand by employers across the country. Things like problem solving, critical thinking, communication, collaboration skills. These are the kind of skills that companies, again, are demanding, and we want to ensure our students have the opportunities to take advantage of those career experiences. So we started teaching students the engineering design process, computational thinking, computer science, and biomedical sciences, and then we have full K-12 pathways. So today we have over 9,000 schools across the United States and all 50 states. District of Columbia, as well as the U.S. territories. We have over 11,000 programs. This year we're expecting our numbers to be over 3 million students participating in Project Lead the Way. And we're growing substantially. That growth, 5 years ago we had 300,000 students. We were a couple thousand students. So the reason we're growing is that there's a lot of research that's been done on Project Lead the Way. And this works. Our students do very well. You go on to higher education at a much higher rate. Our students persist in higher education. And the great thing is that we're hiring our students today. And this is our 20th year. We started in 1997 in upstate New York. And so we're excited about the work that's happening, but we have a lot more to do. And besides the curriculum, we also train teachers. We have a robust teacher training program for all of our K-12 experiences. This past year, we trained over 18,000 teachers across the country. So we're at scale, we are producing great results, and we're excited about Project Lead the Way.
So are we. So why is the work that Project Lead the Way is doing so important for our community, our state, and our nation?
Well, I think you've hit three things. It's for our community, our state, and our country. And I think for us, really thinking about the kind of skills that are required for us to continue to have a thriving economy. And it's no longer an economy that allows people to develop a specific vocation and then go do that for the next 40 years. Today we're in a knowledge economy. People need to be able to think and problem solve. They need to learn to collaborate, to communicate effectively. We today don't have people doing a lot of manual labor. We need people who can program robots and can perform those kind of functions. People who can solve big problems around some of the most vexing issues facing our economy. And unless we can develop a skilled workforce, our economy is going to suffer. So for us, this is about economic prosperity. It's about our national security. It's also, from an individual perspective, about prosperity. It's ensuring that you have the kind of skills that will provide for an enduring career. And that's really the core of Project Lead the Way. But it's all tied to career learning. It's all tied to economic issues. Sometimes people talk about the purpose of education, and I get in this conversation frequently. People say, well, education is designed for you to be an educated person. Of course you want to be an educated person, but you need skills. It's not enough just to have a degree. You need skills that are in demand in the marketplace. And unless that happens, people have a very difficult time having long-term employment. That's why we have so many people unemployed, underemployed in the United States when we have millions of job postings. Companies are looking for a skilled workforce, and we can be part of that solution.
As Chief Executive Officer, how do you lead the PLTW to be the thriving organization?
That's a great question. We have a great team, and I think that I was with our executive committee just this week. we met in Chicago, one of the things I told them what I'm most proud of as an organization are the people who are part of this organization. And to have the opportunity to bring some of the brightest minds together who are passionate about solving problems for America's students and our economy is something that I take great pride in. But I believe that is the core of a thriving organization. It's not about policy, it's really about people. And as long as we can stay focused on that, attract the kind of people we need and believe can help us move forward, then we'll continue to be a thriving organization. Here's something else that's very important. Is the organization has to stay mission focused. And too often people lose that focus and they start thinking that they're more important than the mission. And for us, it's all about mission. It's all about achieving the outcomes that we promise that we'll achieve. And that's really all about our students. And as long as we stay focused there, hire great people, that we believe we can be the kind of thriving organization to support schools across this country.
Right. So what are your short-term and long-term goals for Project Lead the Way?
Yeah, that's great. When we started 6 years ago, when I started PLTW, there were 2 or 3 things that I really believe were very important. One is that we wanted to be scalable. We needed to build an infrastructure that will allow us to go from 2,000 to 20,000 schools. And the other is that we needed to be sustainable. What I mean by that is too often nonprofit organizations, which we are, a nonprofit, depend on other people for funding. And we wanted to ensure that we had a sustainable organization so that people could depend on us for the long term. And we accomplished both of those goals. And we are scalable now, so we've been able to grow at the same time improve quality and improve support to schools. So in the short term, we want to maintain that focus to make sure that we can provide robust support. It's not just about growth, it's about quality. It's ensuring that our students are coming out with the kind of skills that we promise to deliver. From a long-term perspective, this is about impact. It's about ensuring that our students are going into college and careers and making a difference for our economy. And so it's about access. It's ensuring that all students across the country have an opportunity to take Project Lead the Way. Some will choose not to, of course, and we accept that. But we want to make sure that any barrier that gets in the way of our students taking PLTW and what we deliver are eliminated. And we'll continue to focus on that for the long term. So it is about growth, but it's about quality and ensuring the appropriate outcomes.
Would you consider expanding the PLTW internationally?
That's a great question. Well, these are great questions, both of you. Thank you. It depends. For us, there are a couple of big questions. One is we want to ensure that we are devoting the appropriate resources to growing our program in the United States. It's where we started, what we believe in, the American economy, and we're very focused there. At the same time, we work with a lot of corporate partners, and our corporate partners are hiring people all over the world. You look at companies like General Electric, for instance, only about 25% of their revenue is coming from the United States. You look at the global population, the United States has just under 350 million people, which represents about 5% of the world population. Among students, we have 54 million students in the U.S., but there are 750 million worldwide. This is a global economy, it's a global workforce. Our companies in the United States are working across borders, working in multiple countries. So if we can align with that focus, ensuring that we're helping students align with careers and the companies that are helping thriving and help build a thriving economy, not just in the U.S. but globally, that may be something we would consider. But for right now, we're absolutely focused on the United States.
What's your favorite or most rewarding part of your job?
I'm doing it right now. Really, this is what I enjoy the most, is the opportunity to visit with you and to visit schools, to be with our students, to see the kind of effect that we can have as an organization. There are a lot of things I do in my role, but there's nothing more gratifying than to visit with you. Thank you.
Thank you. What's the most difficult part of your job?
most difficult. It's, there are always good. There are always challenges. I think for me, perhaps the most difficult is helping us navigate those barriers that I mentioned a moment ago. A lot of things get in the way. There's always this noise. There are always barriers that are put in place. But what we find are most of those are barriers put in place by adults. And we have to work through all of those challenges. The most difficult thing is those challenges are very diverse. They're different in different places. What's true in South Bend may not be true in South Dakota. And so our team has to be able to navigate all of that from a public policy perspective, a local school district perspective, or even with many of our partners who have very vested interest in what PLTW does. So that's probably the most complex part of my work.
So what is a day in life of Vince Bertram?
Yeah, it's, a day in the life. I don't sleep a lot. I actually don't like to sleep.
Well, you seem awake enough.
I know it sounds kind of odd, doesn't it? I don't like to sleep, but I get up early and I go to bed very late. So I'm usually up by 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I work out every day. I spend a lot of time traveling. I really like to be in schools. I visit with our partners, our suppliers, our partners, those who are providing things like Vex robots and other equipment supplies to our schools. And I also visit with a lot of policymakers. And I do that. I also have 4 sons, and I make every effort to be at all of our events and activities. Later tonight, I'll be at a baseball sectional game, and after I leave here. So that's very important to me as well. But that really consumes most of my day. I go back, I do travel a lot. I spend a lot of time on the road. And it's something I'm willing to do. It's something I believe is important. I believe that, and it goes back to your question a moment ago about the thriving organization. I don't believe that you can be a thriving organization by leading from your office. You have to understand what we're doing and see it work and ask critical questions, learn about what we do, and be willing and accepting things may not be going the way you want them to go. How do you course correct when those things are happening? But that really then looks at my entire day. Our team, we're planning out typically months in advance what my schedule is going to look like. We really try to get out and go to our teacher training sessions as well. And during the school year, I try to get into a lot of schools and visit with students and teachers. That's very informative for me, but it's also very fulfilling.
Well, and we think, and maybe we're wrong, life outside of Project Lead the Way. So what is that like? What are some of your favorite pastime activities?
Yeah, I do have a life outside of PLTW. I would tell you, I spend the vast majority of my time around this work. And what I have found, and I think this is true, I always thought it was a cliche. I thought, people, I always heard this, as people say, find what you're passionate about, never work a day in your life. You've heard that, right? I believe it's absolutely true. I wake up every morning, I can't wait to get where I need to be. At night I have to push things away because I just love this work. I love what I do. And so, but outside of this, when I'm home, I try to be present. I try to make sure I'm there and try to be there for my kids. I grew up and my mom raised my sister and me, and I know how difficult that was. So as a parent, I've always tried to make sure that I'm everywhere I need to be when my kids need me there. And even when I'm there, I want to be there. So I try to get to a lot of their events and really try to make time for conversation and to hear the things that are going on in their lives, things they're thinking about. We have a lot of deep conversations. Also very rewarding as a parent as your children get older and the conversations become much more complex and much more challenging, but also more thoughtful and deeper conversations. And that's where I spend the vast majority of my time. I read a lot. I really enjoy reading, and that's probably the third thing I do the most is I like to do research, not research from an academic perspective, but research around my own knowledge. That's curious about, and I try to read as much as I can about not only what's happening now, but futuristic type of things, and also I like to know how things work and how people think about certain things. One of the things I would suggest to you, to both of you as well, is read for diversity as well. Sometimes people say, well, I like this genre, so I'm just going to read this stuff. I would encourage you to force yourself away from that sometimes and to read things that perhaps don't seem as interesting, and you'll find that they become very interesting. The other thing that happens, and this is true across all of our work, is the ability to take what seems to be disparate ideas and find ways to bring them together and see the commonality. And that is, it's a complex way of thinking, but the only way you can really do that is to spend a lot of time reading about things that don't seem connected to what you're interested in.
When did you realize that education was a path you wanted to take, and what did any particular moment or person lead you to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, I knew I wanted to be an educator when I was in high school, and I really got here through a different path though, because it wasn't that I necessarily just saw education as the path, but it was actually people who inspired me, people who believed in me when others didn't, or people who held me to higher expectations than I had for myself. It's my teachers. I remember my principal once, I was visiting his office. It was not by my choice, someone was sitting there. But he pulled me aside one day and he said to me, "You may give up on yourself, but I will never give up on you." And it was that moment, a moment that I remembered for now well over 30 years, that inspired me. I thought, wow, if someone can do that for me, what could I do working with others to ensure that we never give up on our children? And what can we do as educators to inspire the next generation and give our students hope and belief and the skills to have great lives and great careers? And it was through that lens that I chose education as a path. And I've never regretted it. And it has been one of the most rewarding things for me. But it's also very rewarding to have an opportunity to work with literally thousands of educators across this country. And to think about that kind of reach is something that is very fulfilling.
Do you have any role models or other CEOs you derive inspiration from?
A lot. I look for inspiration in a lot of ways, in a lot of areas. I think we can learn a lot from people. Even people we disagree with, people who come from very different backgrounds, different perspectives, different worldviews. And sometimes I worry that we close off to those viewpoints, things that we disagree with, we ignore or we reject. I think we're making a mistake. We can have intellectual conversations, intellectual debates about very important topics and very different worldviews, but we learn from them. So I am inspired by people who are in a wide variety of positions, from teachers and principals I have a chance to work with, to politicians, to business leaders around the world. And it's interesting when you have the conversation with people and things that they trigger in your mind, or the depth in which they require you to think to come up with an opposing viewpoint or to counter an argument. That's how I spend a lot of my time. I'll read quotes or comments, and sometimes people just reject it. I try not to do that. I try to reflect and to think about, one, what is the truth in this? And could there be truth in it? And if not, why not? And what is my position? And how could I take that and improve upon it? And why did I come to this worldview, and how was I influenced by that? And am I willing to change it? And too often we get ourselves stuck in a place where we believe we're right. And the reality is, correctness is only true within context. And sometimes when contexts change, we need to be able to change with it. Do I believe this today? We get the same thing from a constitutional perspective, right? What did the founders and the writers of the Constitution really believe over 200 years ago? We have people that are debating that today. They say, well, within this very strict view of this, then we apply that to Twitter? Really? I don't think they were thinking about Twitter and Facebook. Right? And, okay, so what does that mean in the context of technology? I believe that's the same question we need to be asking the view that I formed in 2005. Is that same view true today within a different world context? And as long as we're open to that kind of intellectual debate, that rigorous debate, and that challenge, I think we will continue to learn and be inspired by a lot of people.
Now, in 2014, you became a New York Times best-selling author with your book, One Nation Under Taught, Solving America's Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math Crisis. Do you intend to write any more books?
Yes, I have. August 1st, 2017.
Can't wait.
Yes, I will send both of you a copy.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. For me, writing is, I enjoy thinking. Sometimes you get this thought and it starts to expand, and it's like, can I put this in paper? And just share my views. I've never taken a position that I'm right. I've always taken a position that these are my thoughts, and allow other people to challenge them, and debate them, and decide whether they're right for them. And I think this book is actually written for students, and through that lens. I think too often, and I made this statement a few moments ago when I said that sometimes we debate the purpose of education. And for me, it's how are we thinking about college and careers and the pathways to get there? Is high school and college just a question of courses that we believe at some point that we get a piece of paper that then prepares us for this evolving economy? I don't believe so. I think it needs to be much more strategic. It's developing skills, but also early on ensuring that we don't shut off opportunities. It's amazing to me, and really quite astounding, how many opportunities are eliminated from students at a very early age, and they don't know it. For instance, do you know that students make decisions about whether they're good in math and science as early as second grade? And what if you had believed in second grade that you weren't good at this? You wouldn't be doing what you're doing today. So what we want to do is the purpose of this book is to give some practical advice, some insight. It's actually, the title is going to be Dream Differently. And the idea is that people will say, just follow your dreams and everything will work out. That is absolute irrational advice. No one has ever had a career because they had a dream. Try that in an interview. So tell me about yourself. Well, I have a dream. What skills do you have? None. I have a dream. It doesn't work that way. People don't hire you because you're dream. They don't care what your dreams are. They care about what you can do. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's running a 40-yard dash, or whether it's putting together code, writing code. It's your skills that will give you those opportunities. And we want to make sure that our students are thinking through that perspective. Yeah, you can dream, but dream differently, dream smarter. And that's what this book is about, is to really look through that lens and say, when you go to college, for instance, I'll give you two or three other pieces that will be part of this that I believe are really important. Education is a differentiator. You'll hear this cliche, education is a great equalizer. We've all heard it. It's not true. You don't get an education to be like everyone else. You're not going to Purdue, you're not going to Notre Dame to be like everyone else. You're going there to differentiate yourself, to develop skills and knowledge that will allow you to do whatever you want to do. You will gain control and independence as a result of your education. You're not there to take a collection of courses. You're there to build skills that will give you enduring careers. And I just believe that as a differentiator, human capital could be like a commodity. A commodity is undifferentiated. It's like wheat. It doesn't matter, farmer A, farmer B, they take their wheat to the market and the market says, here's the price. It's undifferentiated. Human capital could be exactly the same way. We get an education to differentiate ourselves, so don't be a commodity. The other thing that I think is really important is that the way we think about our investment in education. I mean, think about this. What if someone were to say to you that you can invest $150,000, right? For you, Tess, it's going to be more than that, right? But $150,000, and we want you to invest in this. At the end of some period, we will guarantee you no return on your investment. None. There aren't many rational people who would do that, but we do it in college. We'll go invest $150,000, get a degree that is absolutely worthless in the marketplace. There's no demand for it. Or we can go into careers and pathways that will lead to great careers because they're in high demand. That's where you get your return on your investment. Now, my point is, I am fine with someone who makes a decision to invest $150,000 with no return, provided that they know that that's the likely outcome. And I want to make sure our students are thinking about this. The other is, I want them to think about every class session, how much it costs them. For both of you, your class sessions are going to cost you between $45 and $90 per class session each year. Not class, not day, every 45 or 50-minute class session, that's what you're going to pay. And are you getting the value? Are you taking the courses that are going to help you? Or are you just checking off requirements? You're there, use your money wisely, make an investment. And for those who choose to play video games during class or sleep in, they still pay. I want our students to make wise investments. So that's what, it's a long response, but that's what the book is about.
Thank you.
I'm not selling a book because I'm going to send you a free copy. So we're good.
Very much. Well, I think that wraps up all of our questions for you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Your questions have been great, and I really appreciate the opportunity with you. I'm proud of both of you. You're going to have extraordinary careers. You're going to do great things. And the thing that I have been most impressed with both of you, and I've been here before. This is obviously my first visit to Riley and not my first experience with both of you. But the thing I'm also convinced is now we have great careers, but you're going to make a difference for a lot of people, whatever you do. And I'm very proud of you for that. So thanks for inviting me here, and again, I wish you both best of luck in your careers.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. I think that wraps it up.
Great.